We believe that being a defender requires more than building shooting skills on a range. It's also a development of the heart, mind, body, and spirit. Join us as we explore what it truly means to be a defender in your training and in your everyday life. Welcome to Defenders Live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Defenders Live. I am your host, Lora Thorson. Good to be with you again on a Wednesday evening. And tonight we're going to have some fun. We're changing the format of Defenders Live just a little bit. And it's going to be a little bit more off the cuff. My guest tonight is not only going to be answering questions, but he's also going to be asking me questions, which scares me because I don't know what the questions are. So my guest tonight is Neil Weidner of Active Self-Protection, and the plan is to ask each other 7 random unknown questions and see where the conversation takes us. And for those of you watching on the Active Self-Protection app, hey, so glad that you're here as well. This is simultaneously being live streamed on the app right now. And so hello to all of you. For anyone who's interested in downloading the Active Self-Protection app, you can get 30% off your first 3 months by going to watch.activeselfprotection.com. Put the Defenders 30 code in at checkout and you can get 30% off. So welcome to all who are new or watching this as a replay. We're so glad that you're here. Drop in the comments where you're watching from. We always want to hear from you. We do have my good helper and friend Adam Winch behind the scenes, the founder of Defenders USA. He is going to be helping with comments and may or may not be popping in and out, asking questions or giving Neil a hard time. Not me, though, only Neil. You just never know about him. So a couple announcements before we get started. Defenders Live is now officially on anywhere that you can stream podcasts, an audio-only version. So you can go to Spotify, iTunes, or any of those places, and you can listen to Defenders Live now. And if you don't want to miss another episode and want to keep in the loop of what's going on at Defenders Live, you can go to defenders-live.com and sign up for email notifications or go to our private Facebook group. We have one of those as well, and that's where you can stay up to date on what's going on. So let's see. Oh, I wanted to tell you this too. So make sure you stay till the end of the broadcast. Not only will I be letting you know who to expect for next week, but also I have a really big announcement that I want to share with you guys later on in the broadcast. Don't be shy. If you have comments, pop those in the chat as we go. I can feel my face getting red already because I know I'm going to be in the hot seat with Neil Weidner. So let's bring Neil onto the show. Hey, Neil. And he's muted. Here we go.
Oh, am I better now?
Yeah.
How are you?
So this was your idea, Neil. I mean, in all fairness, You're like, hey, let's do this. This might be fun. And of course I said, yeah, why not?
Mostly just because I wanted to ask you these questions. And so I'm excited about it. I think it'll be fun.
But I feel way more comfortable asking than answering. Did you see the interview that Adam did with me where he interviewed me? Have you seen that yet?
I did a little bit of that.
So, yeah. So anyway, this will be good for me. So, okay, well, who should go first here? How should this start?
You go first. Ladies first. How's that?
Okay. So most of my questions are kind of serious because I'm all business usually, but there are a couple that are a little bit more lighthearted. So maybe I should start with one of those. Okay. So you know how we have something in common, Neil, is kind of like the thing that bonds us together is we both grew up on a cattle feedlot, right?
Yes. Yep.
So there are some like inside things with growing up that way that maybe others wouldn't know. And I tried to think of something really clever that no one would know about, but I couldn't on demand really think of it. But so I'm going to give you like one of 2 options. Which do you prefer? You can tell me why or not. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The first one is stick shift or automatic.
Oh, either or. Automatic's way better, but I love to drive a stick shift. Yes.
Okay. Cowboy hat or ball cap?
Oh, ball cap. I'm not a cowboy hat guy. The real cowboys make fun of me when I wear.
And they can tell too.
Oh yeah, they know. They know. I don't even wear boots. Like, nah, guys, I'll totally give it to you. I can
Yeah.
kind of ride a horse and hold my own there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I cannot do any of the real cowboy stuff.
Okay. What about George Strait or Chris Ledoux?
Oh, oh, that's a good question. Chris Ledoux was the song that I danced with Steph at our wedding to. But
We have that in common too.
yeah, but he's dead. So George Strait is welcome to in my house with his cowboy boots on. How's that?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Can I
All
just say
right.
yes to both of those? Because come
That's
on,
hard. It's hard to pick, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Last one. Gooseneck or bumper pull?
Oh, gooseneck all day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As long as you got somebody to help you hook it up, and I can scream at
What?
my kids. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I hate hooking up, especially with a 4-door pickup to get your head
Right.
back over the and see that. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, they're easier to pull down the road. Yes,
Yes, they are. Okay. And easier to back up too.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely,
So we
absolutely.
started off with an easy one. That was a softball, which I'm sure everybody wanted to know that about you, Neil. I'm sure they
I'm
did.
sure they do.
Yeah.
So what's funny is of course, I told the girls, after the last time you and I did the podcast, I was like, was there anything
I did not write that comment.
that yeah. I see that my girls are already in the comments, but I did ask them. I'm like, "Is there anything familiar?" And they all got it right off the bat. That you're a farm kid too. Just
Oh,
be the way that we talk and communicate.
yeah.
And so I did ask them. I'm like, "Well, what questions would you ask her?" And their questions were along that same lines. Was let's see here, mucks or bogs?
I have muck boots. I don't really either or. As long as they keep me out of the mud, I really don't care what they're
Right.
called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you gotta. How about socks inside or outside your long johns?
Hmm.
Inquiring minds need to know that.
I would say outside if you're serious about nothing creeping up. I mean, outside's
Right.
probably smarter. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that one came directly from Maddie. I think she's a big time socks on the outside to
Yeah.
keep stuff from coming up there. So, um,
Yeah.
and see, they already pointed out your scarf, so they get
Yeah,
it.
I love it's like my binky. I love my scarf. Yeah.
I took my scarf to SHOT Show in case it was cold. I never got to wear it, but it's in
Oh.
the other room. I should have grabbed
Well,
it
you
and put it on.
should because it sounds like you got a cold going on there. You should have kept everything warm.
Yeah, I brought home the SHOT Show crud and have been fighting it. Today's probably been the best day since I got home, so
Yeah.
I'm in better
That's
shape.
funny that we both kind of came up with the same question, sort of.
Okay, so another one along those lines is horseback or four-wheeler.
Oh, come on, Neil. I guess it depends on what you're doing,
Okay.
but I mean, if you've got the time to do it horseback, I would say that would be the route to take every time. If you have the time and sometimes the terrain doesn't let you use a four-wheeler, so at
That's
least out here.
yeah, but sometimes the terrain makes it harder when you fall off the horse too.
Well, just don't fall off.
So, yeah. So there might one of the differences is the Cowboys like to embarrass me. I don't know if they like to embarrass you, but I always get the horse that isn't quite broke.
Oh, yeah, you get the riffraff, whatever's left over.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah,
here,
and they get the good
when they
horses.
hand you when they get up, because we don't live there, so when I go out there, when they hand you the reins and they just look down and kind of giggle, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Somebody, I needed a today.
I'm sorry, and I've witnessed that many times of people that have come on to the ranch or the feedlot, and then you're like, "Oh, well, we'll see how they handle this."
Yeah,
That's just mean, isn't it? They shouldn't
yeah,
do that.
I never got the banker horse. The banker horse always goes to somebody.
This is why you should just always bring your own.
Yeah, well, my horse, I have two horses out here, and I'm not riding either of them either. So one of
Oh.
them tried to murder me the last time I rode. She is lucky she lived through that. And well, we're both lucky we lived through it because I about died on the spot. She about died 15 minutes ago.
Kara said red or green. I thought about asking you that
Ooh,
question.
it's
What
green all day.
is it green? Yeah, for me
Yeah,
it is too. Yeah.
so
I'm glad we agree.
yeah. Cody and I are we got an old John Deere 4020 here last year. Our plan is to restore it to like parade new. But for right now, we're just goofing around on it and having fun. So it
That's
leaks
cool.
oil everywhere in my shop.
40/20 is just like the best. It can,
Right?
I mean, it's like it's the most universal tractor, I think.
It is.
It's good for almost anything.
Yeah. Did you know they made those for less than 10 years? They
I
only
did
made
not
those for
know
like,
that.
it was from like 64 to 72 or something like that.
No, really?
Yeah, they quit making those in 19, like I think it was 71 or 72.
Wow.
Ours is a 64, so it's the very first year it came out. And so yeah, it's still, I mean, you hit the button and it starts. They just run. So
Right.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
And Kara
Okay.
Connery is wrong. It's not
To
right.
each their own. I was gonna ask you Ford or Chevy or Dodge, but then I was like, who cares, right?
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to be fair, I'd probably say Ford.
I mean, if they're anything newer than a 2000, they all suck anyway, so it doesn't really
Right.
matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, there's not.
They
In a
all
really good
equally
point
suck
of
at
view.
this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, who goes next, Neil? I feel
Um,
like we need a mediator, Adam. You should be the middleman.
so so I got one question that it gets a little bit deeper.
Uh-oh.
So where's the,
I just want to talk about horses the whole time. Can't I
oh,
just do that?
well, okay, so what color horse is your favorite horse?
No.
I literally have that on my list.
I don't have a favorite color. No.
Okay.
I do have a soft spot though for a sorrel with a blaze face, 4 white feet, and a flaxen mane and tail. And the only reason is because my all-time favorite horse had the big blaze face, and
Okay.
so I just got a soft spot because I associate that
Okay.
look
All right.
with good
My
times.
my first horse that was mine was a buckskin, and so I kind of prefer the buckskin horse with the
Yeah.
black stripe down the.
But you can't buy the color. Don't do it, Neil. You
No,
can't just buy the color.
I don't have a buckskin now, so
You don't, or you do?
no, I do not.
Oh,
No, so
yeah.
but anyway, so let me ask you this. Let's talk self-defense stuff quick because this question I think is a deep one.
Uh-oh.
So what do you think that in the self-defense industry that we're in, what do we get right and what do we get wrong?
Who's we? Like just anybody?
The collective we that does what we do.
Okay. My opinion is that what we get wrong is that we not just teach, but practice only the fun stuff. We drill the drills and we shoot the things, and we sometimes leave out the context of why are we doing the drill. And it's cool and great to get better at a shooting skill. That's a wonderful thing, right? Because I'm a firearms instructor. I want you to get better at that. But I
Yeah.
also don't want you to leave thinking like you checked the box and now I'm good to go. That's what I'm always scared of because, as you know, a lot of people we never see them again. So we have to get as much into them while we have them as possible. So that would be that.
So that's what we get wrong. What do we get right?
Yeah. What do we get right? Well, I think that, I mean, I don't know. It's not like I've been in the industry for decades like you have. So as a collective, it seems like generally, um, so far
How
what
old do you
I've,
think I am? Hold on. How old do you think
what?
I am?
How old do I think you
How
are?
old do you
It's
think
not
I am?
about how old you are. You're not that much older than me. We might even be the same age. I don't know.
Okay, I'll take that. I know that's not true, but I haven't been doing this for
I am not
decades.
20. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you when you said that. So I haven't done
No,
this for
the
decades.
people that I've been around anyway, and I could have this wrong because I haven't been around, like for a
Mhm.
long time, I guess you'd say, in this industry. But the people I've been around for the most part have been kind, helpful. They've rooted for me. And especially what? Especially around my local group of people that I've been around,
Oh yeah.
we all like try to help each other all the time. It's just a very good group of people. So I think that that's really helpful.
Okay.
What are
I
you
was not
laughing
laughing
at?
at you. I was not laughing. I'm
What
sorry.
was it, a comment?
Yeah,
The
one of the.
best looking 74-year-old man I know, is that the one?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. I don't
Not,
believe that for a
not
minute.
quite that old yet, but
No.
but I will be the best looking 74-year-old man. I like that, because knowing your team the way I know your team, that's 100% true statement. I think that's something that for the most part we do get right as a group.
Yeah.
We, at least our immediate tribe, we lift up. But one of the things I think we get wrong is that sometimes we do get a little tribal and potentially don't help out the people that, we're all in the same industry. We all supposedly have the same goals. And I think we miss.
Well, it's that whole rising tide thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think it's your turn.
Oh yeah, it's my turn. Okay, here's a hard one. Not for you, but it would be for me. Tell me a story about something you've done that you didn't think you could do, but you did it anyway, and how did it impact you?
Oh, geez. Okay, I'll tell you a fun one. Back in, what was that, 2008, my kids will correct me. They were all little. I had a buddy. I used to work at the Gateway Computer Company, the cow spotted boxes and all of that. That's where Steph and I met.
Your guys' comments are the best.
If I could pepper spray my daughter again, I would. And I might anyway, but no. So I had a buddy at work that we were sitting at lunch talking, and he wanted to do a triathlon. And I was kind of an athlete at one point. Nothing real special, but I played some football and basketball. And my pastime during the week was I would go to the Y and play noon ball every week.
I'm sorry, the comments.
I love you too.
It's hard not to laugh.
But so I'm like, okay, I've always kind of wanted to do a triathlon. I'll do one with you. And so he said, look and find one that's close to here. We'll train for it and we'll do it. And so I found a short one that was in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And it was, if I remember right, what was it? It was like a half a mile in the water, like a 15-mile bike ride, and then a 3-mile run. So I think they call those a sprint. I don't know. I've never done one.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I played basketball every day at lunch, 5 days a week. I would go run, for an hour and then go back to work. And it was all business guys it was our lunch hour. We didn't have time for the Showtime stuff or any of that kind of stuff. It's pick teams, run, sweat. So these are some of my best friends to this day. These are guys I could call at 2 a.m. with a flat tire. I could call one of my basketball buddies that I haven't played basketball in a decade with them. But regardless, I'm like, I can run. Riding a bike is riding a bike. But I was worried about swimming. So and we had 8 weeks to get ready for this. So I spent 8 weeks in the pool. I didn't play basketball. Every day at lunch, I went and I swam. And I got to the point where I could swim about I don't even remember. I feel like it was like 15 minutes for a half mile or something like that. So if that's wildly inappropriate, then I'm lying and I just don't remember. But I think that's where I
love how you're like, I might be lying, but not on purpose.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was pretty decent for me because the first few times it was like I couldn't get a half mile in an hour.
Mm.
And so
you couldn't even get me in the water, Neil. So props to you for that.
Okay. So the day comes that it's time to head to the Black Hills for this thing. And I called the people running it and said, hey, I'm coming to this. This is my first one. What's the course like? And the local guy's like, well, it's a pretty flat course. It's no big deal. You won't have any trouble. And the idiot in me did not remember that I'm talking about the Black Hills of South Dakota, which are just literally like they're the hills, for crying out loud. Yeah. I kind of forgot that.
Yeah.
And so
rocks too.
So Steph and I got there. We dropped the kids off with my folks, and they were going to come out and watch the next day. But Steph and I were going to go so I could get signed in and all that. And we get there, and they're having like a spaghetti dinner. We got there just in time to have a plate of spaghetti. Everything closed down. We went to our hotel, and they had the track and everything all marked out. And so we got in our, I think, minivan that we were driving at the time, and we decided we're going to go drive this bike course. And it wasn't 15 miles. It was 28 and a half miles. I think the one thing that I don't know where I put it. The one thing that my dad ever stole was the sign that said 28 miles. And he gave it to me at the end, but that's a whole nother thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so we drove those 28 miles, and I was Um, panic isn't the right word. I was freaking out. I'm
Oh,
like,
you drove them in advance to see what?
yeah.
Oh,
And we just drove this thing, and I'm like, Steph, and before that, I'm like, yeah, if I do good at this, I'm going to do another one. And this seems like fun. And I like the crowd and I like this stuff. And I forgot the guy that roped me into all of this bagged out the day before to go fishing. He's like, nah, I'm going to go fishing this weekend. You're on your own.
oh no.
And so,
So
yeah,
you didn't even know anybody that was competing then?
no.
Oh,
And so, so I'm like, okay, I didn't hardly sleep that night. I spent the whole night trying to get my mind right because I'm panicking. I'm like, I don't think I can do this now. I'm freaking out. I've spent no time on the bike. I had a borrowed bike. The
oh,
guy had loaned me, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So the one thing that I decided to do was I'm not gonna try to compete. I'm just gonna try to finish. My goal was 4 hours. And so when they got ready to shoot the gun, I literally stood there with my arm around Steph and was holding, I think, Becca's hand, if I remember right. One of the girls was standing there on the beach with me. They shot the gun and everybody takes off running, and they call that the thrashers, or at least that's what they called them at this one. And people are getting kicked in the head as they're running through, swimming through the
oh my
water.
gosh.
These are the competitive people that want to win. And everybody runs down in, and it was out, over, and back. And I let everybody get going, and then I kissed Steph, patted, I think, Becca on the head. Maybe, I don't know if Becca remembers that. She's in the comments. And I walked into the water and I started swimming, and I lost my breath in about the first 10 strokes, and I never caught it for the rest of the race. So I was like, I think there were 5 or 8 people behind me when I got out of the water. I got on the bike, started biking, and there was this little white truck behind, way in the back. You could see they were like the pace car for the dead last person. And I could see him about a mile behind me as I'm riding the bikes through these hills. And every now and again, he got a little closer and a little closer and a little closer. And pretty quick, he was behind me. And I had never been passed. I never got passed one time. Everybody else just quit.
Wow, really?
So I'm like, well, I'm not going to quit, but I can't pedal this bike. So I walked about half of the 28 miles, just pushing the stupid bike up and down hills. It was,
wow.
I got on it and rode it past my kids as we went through. Well, they were eating breakfast. I did ride my bike past my kids and then we got to the run. This is taking way longer than I should have.
Yeah, you were lecturing me on not going too long.
I know.
Now look at you.
This is one of the things I literally did not think I could do this. And so this is a great question, and it's one of my favorite stories to tell. So I appreciate having a chance. So it's time to run the 3.5 miles. I get back from the bike. I rode by, and I remember, I think there was some hallucinating going on there. I was completely out of it. I kicked the 28-mile sign as I rode by it into the parking lot. I'm like, I got it. Now all I got to do is get that 3.5 mile. And I'm like, I'll walk it if I have to. I don't care. I'm finishing this thing.
Yeah.
And I remember a doctor coming up to me, because apparently I didn't look good. I don't know.
They were worried about you.
And they're taking my pulse, and they're like, yeah, you're kind of in shock. I would not recommend you do this. And I'm like, I told them, I'm like, I didn't come out here to not do this. And I'm not going to push myself. I will literally walk. And so, and then, again, with the whole hallucinating thing, I thought I was hallucinating. At one moment, all of a sudden I looked down, and there was this person walked up to me and handed me a yard gnome. The pointy hat yard gnome.
Yeah.
Little concrete guys.
Did that really happen?
I can tell you the story. So he handed this to me, and he put his arm around me, and they took our picture. And then he just evaporated. And I'm like, and they had said, you're in shock and we're worried about you. And I'm like, there's no way that just happened. I'm not telling anybody about this. I'm just, and so I take off running or walking. The doctor gets in a little white pickup, the little Chevy Love, and with the yellow light, and they follow me. And I get to the 3.5 mile mark, and I leaned over to puke for about the 50th time that day. And the guy in the pickup got out. We're best friends now because we'd spent the day together. And he's like, you're doing well. And I was like, all I got to do is get back now. And he stops. And there were several times during the bike, he's like, you can turn around now. And I'm like, no, I'm going the whole way. And he's like, what do you mean go back? And I was like, well, yeah, I just got to get back now. Cause I'm at I was at the 1.5 mile mark. And he's like, were you not at supper last night? And I was like, no. And he's like, oh, they turned this into a 10K last night. Instead of 3 miles, it's now 6.5 miles. And he's like,
oh my
if
gosh.
you look up this hill, which looked like, I mean, it looked to me in my head at that moment, it looked like looking up the, like the hobbits looking up the Mordor mountain. I'm like, and it's way up there. You can see the sun reflecting off of the windshield of the car you have to run to.
Oh man.
And so at that moment, I may have started sobbing and puking, which is a great look, if you know what I mean. And so, yeah, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm not quitting now. So I just took off, got up and back, all of and made it, finished it in 4 hours and 8 minutes.
Wow.
It was one of those moments in time that I'm like, okay, this isn't that, when you hear about like athletes talk about like inner demons and all of that, I always thought that was a bunch of BS. I have never heard my own brain scream so loudly at me, you can't do this.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was a internal battle.
Like a survival instinct kicked in kind of a thing.
Happened before.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, this was put on by the JCs, the South Dakota JCs put this thing on. And every year the JCs have their big national convention. And my brother and his wife were JCs at the time. And my best friend at the time, and his wife, they all went down to Florida for this thing. And of course, everybody sits together. And they have, at their big dinners, and they have like a moment where the national president gets on stage and tells a story of something cool that happened in this state.
Oh.
And he saves the best story for last. And this is like a 4-day event or something. I don't know. I wasn't there. But my buddy Jeff tells me this story. And he's like, and literally, we're sitting at a pheasant hunt one time, and he's like, he didn't even know I did this until this whole thing happened. But he said they got down to the last two, and there was South Dakota and one other one. And so the president gets up and he's like, they know it's one or the other, so we're going to tell the winner now. And so he launches into this story. And of course, this is my friend Jeff telling me this story, who would love to embarrass me. But he's like, dude, you gotta know, man. And so he gets up and he starts telling this story about a guy that was, roped into doing this thing. And then his buddy bagged out, and then, he was sick, and the doctor told him he shouldn't probably do it. And he didn't want to, he wouldn't quit. And it turned out he was the guy in the little white pickup.
Oh,
and
I was going to say, it would be interesting to know what that conversation was.
Well, yeah. And so what the president did is he went to all 50 states with this stupid yard gnome and took a picture with the person that was up there. And so my buddy Jeff is telling me, he's like, there is not a dry eye in the room. You are, everybody is like, holy smokes, and they played it up way more than it really was. It was mostly me just, riding a bike slowly and walking around for a day.
I don't know.
But Jeff's like, there was not there just literally wasn't a dry eye in the room. And then they snap up the picture, and of course Jeff and my brother and my sister had no idea, and Jeff's wife had no idea I'd done this. And they're sitting there and they're like, oh, that's Neil. And yeah, and so there were some choice words spoken at that table.
That is so crazy.
But, yeah, so the yard gnome thing really happened. I thought it was a hallucination, but it wasn't. So I've probably hallucinated other things, but that was the one. So that was a really long-winded story.
That's a good story. I love it.
And then my dad gave me the sign, and I have kept it. The 28-mile sign. It was here in my office, but I think I took it down when we did some of this construction. I literally have saved that. That's been almost 20 years ago now that I've saved that ever since. So,
wow, that's a good story.
So,
I don't know if I have any stories like that.
Well, that was a great question. I really liked it. So,
well, good.
I like the chance to tell my fun story about this thing,
yeah, you're so good at telling stories too.
But all right, well, let me ask you this then. I'm looking at my list. I have a list of 12 questions. I don't even know what number we're on at this point. But do you know who Brene Brown is?
I've heard of her. Yeah, I've seen her speak on some videos.
Yeah, she does like TED Talks and books and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's got this thing that she calls her 1-inch square.
Uh-huh.
And if you you should, and she says if you you should, yeah, thanks, Becca. Was it your head that I patted on there?
It's water. Adam teases me all the time. It's water.
Okay, so Brene Brown has this thing where you take a 1-inch square and you write down the names of the people whose opinions matter to you. And if you
Ooh.
can't fit their names on the 1-inch square, their opinions shouldn't matter.
Ooh.
So, what names would you put on your 1-inch square?
Wow.
As I take a drink of my Coke Zero.
See, this is hard because as a believer, no person's opinions should matter, right? But knowing that I'm only human, I would say that my family, my immediate family, is
I name names, Laura.
well, Justin, my husband, and my 2 kids. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those are definitely in my square.
I respect the whole as a believer line of thinking, but
Mhm.
also as a human,
Mhm.
some people's opinions can matter. It's okay.
Oh, yeah,
It
absolutely.
doesn't
Yeah.
have to, we're not looking for their approval or things like that. But
Mhm.
another way I look at the whole 1-inch square thing is the people that give me advice, if they're not on my 1-inch square, maybe I don't necessarily need to take that to heart.
Mm.
Especially as somebody that deals with YouTube comments on a daily basis. I don't really, their opinions don't necessarily matter to me
Yeah,
sometimes.
you get to exercise that daily, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah, I haven't
With
had
your
a
husband
lot of
and your kid,
haters yet.
anybody else that like the big influences in your life?
Oh, well, Adam is a mentor of mine for sure, and he's somebody that I talk to regularly, so he's definitely, I don't ever wanna let Adam down. He's done so much for
Yeah.
me, and he
He's
sees things
okay.
in me I don't even see in myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Brian Hill's been a mentor of mine as well. So,
Yeah.
but I would say Adam for sure. I mean, um, I would never wanna do anything to especially representing his company too, I take that as a big responsibility.
Hmm.
Um, I think that that's important. So, I think I'm probably harder on myself than he ever would be on me, so I don't think he's worried because he knows. Yeah, but
I would be
everybody's got an
shocked if you
opinion.
didn't put Adam on your list. And I look at that list as kind of a these are the people I'll take business advice from. These are the people that when I've got crisis, uh,
Mhm.
real crisis, that
Who
I
would you
want to
call?
hear
Yeah.
their opinion at least.
Mhm.
Um, and so and I'm the same. It's my family.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what department it's in,
It,
It's like
it
when I
is.
think of marketing and business, I think of you, but when I think of, like, just growth as a shooter, as an instructor, then I think of Adam and Brian, so I guess it depends on under
I
what
mean, I'm a
framework
way
it's in.
better shooter than Adam. We are. I mean,
Oh, yeah, you already told him that before the show, I forgot. Yeah,
it's way more fun when he's on the screen.
I
Uh,
know. He's
I
smiling, I can see
There he
him.
is. I beat Adam at this one drill one time.
Yeah.
I don't even know how long ago. And I just won't ever stand on the line with him again. So then I'm undefeated and unbeaten. And then yeah. So
That's funny. Oh, I
uh,
guess it's my turn to ask you a
yeah, it's your
question.
turn. What
Okay.
do you got?
Okay, so we just talked about the marketing thing. Is your title Chief Marketing Officer?
Yeah, that's a
Okay,
cool title, isn't
it
it?
is cool. So, as the Chief Marketing Officer of Active Cell Protection, what do you believe makes a naturally good marketer or business person? What's at the heart of it, in your opinion?
I would say the relationship building side of it. If you cannot build a relationship with somebody that's based on some trust and build that trust,
Mhm.
um, the marketing side of the relationship will not last long. And so that's a great question coming from SHOT Show. Because everybody asks, what's your favorite thing about SHOT Show? Seeing all the new cool stuff. And I'm like, it used to be, the first couple times I went, I'm like, yeah, I get to see all the new stuff. I get to shoot some cool guns. And I did get to shoot a couple pretty cool guns this last time. But to me, the best part of SHOT is hanging out with my tribe, Steph and John and the ASP team, and then seeing all of the friends. And so, I don't look at most of our sponsors as a business relationship anymore. These are my friends. And so when I get to the Mantis booth, I am seeing all of my friends.
That's so funny that you say that. Sorry to interrupt you,
but
but I was talking with somebody about this today, and they were frustrating and they were struggling with, it was almost like they were looking for the silver bullet of, okay, do I do this combination of print and digital and and how do I reach people and this and that? And I'm like, well, what kind of like grassroots organic, are you going out and meeting people? Are you talking to people? And especially in this particular industry, which is the farm and ranch world, that is even more important, I think.
The best feed salesman is the guy that gets in the tractor and listens to the farmer talk.
Yeah.
And I remember those guys showing up on the farm all the time. They always got the good horse, that stuff. But those were the ones that came over and over and over that would come and start to build a relationship. And
right.
I still see a few of those guys around the country from time to time, and I'm like, those were the guys that were memorable.
And not only that, but good news travels fast, and so does bad news.
Yeah.
I mean, word of mouth is a big deal.
Yeah, and you mess up once, and especially in the farming community, boy, you mess up once, and I do remember a feed salesman
like wildfire.
Might have made a questionable decision once that all of a sudden, was looking for a whole bunch of new customers to replace the ones that left. So, so I do the same. That's kind of my take on it. I've had a lot of times over the years where, when we get to SHOT, everybody thinks this is weird, but I'm like, all right, John, you're on your own. I got to go. And I just go walk the aisles and I talk to people and I hang out. And I prefer to do it alone rather than in a group, because in a group, there's always somebody that's pointing at their watch. We've got to go. And I'm like, this is my time to build relationships. Now, if I've got to be somebody, I'm paying attention to my watch so I can go. But, that's, the relationship builds it first. You've got to do the marketing stuff. You've got to give them good ads. You've got to give them good exposure, but everybody's doing that. But if you're not likable and they don't trust you, you can't do any tinkering. You can't play with any of that stuff. You've either got to hit a home run, or they leave. And so, if you've got a good relationship, you can hit some singles and doubles, and they'll give you chances to take more swings. And so that's,
I think people forget that sometimes, that it all boils down to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did she say? The brand inspector, no one wants to work with you anymore. Oh,
yeah. Nobody likes the brand inspector.
That's funny.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. A fun one. How would your mom describe what you do?
Wait, do you mean like on this show and as a firearms instructor? Because I have like more than one job.
A pretty simple question there, Laura.
I know, because I immediately went to the job that makes me money.
No, I'm curious. So if what's your mom's name? Do you mind?
Judy, she's passed.
Okay. So if I was talking to Jude, my mom's name is Jadelle. I called her Jude all through. I still call her Jude. But if I was sitting having a cup of coffee with Judy, and I said, "Hey, Judy, what does Laura do?" How would she describe it?
Well, generally, she'd probably just say I make things look pretty on paper.
Okay.
Yeah, because
you put some meat around that. What does that mean?
Well, I own a business that's a marketing and advertising business, and primarily what I do there is graphic design and photography. So, but mostly it's making things pretty on paper. I mean, that's really mostly print design. So I would say she would probably say that, and have no clue how that happens. And then I don't know, with the firearms instructor stuff, I think she'd just say, teach people how to shoot guns. I don't know. I don't know.
Fair, fair.
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
what my mom would say either, and she's watching this, so she'll probably tell me. We'll see.
Some things are harder to describe than others.
They are. I don't know. I thought that'd be a fun question for you. So
Yeah.
well, cool.
Okay.
You're up.
I'm up. There's one I'm kind of scared to ask you, so I don't know if I'm going to go there. But
Oh, come on. I'm in. I'm up.
do
Let's
you
do it.
want? Do you want? Okay. Well, we both have, like, we both can say I don't want to answer that. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. What has been one of your biggest betrayals, either personally or professionally, and how did you handle it? And no names can be said, but I know you don't have to answer. I can go to a different one.
Man, how much time we got? I got another
20 minutes.
No, I will. So I'll make this one really quick. And this is not in the firearm related world. There's been some material there too. But probably the biggest one, I used to run call centers. And I was teaching a training class and had to run a bunch of people through this training process. One of the guys in this training class came to me one morning and told me that his little girl was sick and in the hospital. And so he couldn't work as hard as everyone else. And I had 4 little girls at the time. So I'm like, okay, cool. This thing snowballed and snowballed. And it would take me an hour and a half to tell you this whole story. We don't have any time for that. But it snowballed to the point where I did fundraisers for this guy. I on a Saturday evening or Sunday morning in the middle, or Saturday night, middle of the night, Sunday morning, I woke up. He had told me the day before that she was in intensive care. They didn't think she was going to make it. I could not sleep, and so I got up and went to the hospital. And I walked into the hospital in the middle of the night, and I'm like, where's the peds? I don't know. And they pointed me down a hallway. I walk up, there's this whole family sitting there. And there's one guy sitting on a chair with his coat over his head, but I can tell it's this guy because of his shoes. And I was like, hey, is that Jake? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. I work with Jake. And they're like, you want us to wake him up? And I'm like, no. I just wanted to be here for him for a few minutes. And so I sat and I visited with his family for a while. People I've never met before in my life and have never seen since. And then I left and I got home about 6:30 in the morning. We were getting ready to go to church. The phone rings and it's Jacob. And he tells me that his little girl has just passed away. And I literally dropped to my knees, and Steph was with me. I mean, we were very emotionally invested in this. All of that to say, this dude didn't have any kids. It was all a lie. It was all fake. I went so far as to introduce him to my pastor. The ladies at my church were gonna do lunch for the funeral. All of it.
But wasn't he at the hospital that night or whatever?
It wasn't even him.
That wasn't him.
No. So can you imagine what that family story is to this day? That some wagon showed up, talked to us for about a half an hour, and left. Yeah. So he wasn't even at the hospital. There was no baby to begin with. And so to this day, I would say that's one of my biggest betrayals. Wow. I bought that whole thing.
Did he just not show back up to work again? I mean,
no. That's why it's a long story. I had to fire him in an aggressive manner.
Wow.
It was,
wow.
So, lots of fun.
That's a new
bringing
level.
up that piece of trauma.
Sorry.
I still think about Savannah and.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy that somebody would do that.
The details are just wild. I always say I should
let it go that far. I mean, even
it was a 4-week deal. I mean, it was a month long.
Wow.
So that's my biggest one. How's that?
Oh, you've got the
sometime
tonight.
Sometime if you want the story, ask about Savannah. I will I'll tell you all about it sometime. It's hilarious, but it takes a while to tell it. So
wow, that's a good one.
Yeah. How about this? Let's go back to your days on the feedlot. Tell me the story of the most expensive thing you have broken.
I've not broken anything. I don't
Oh, come
think.
on.
Oh, well, hold on now a second. I remember one time, I have a funny story, and I technically I didn't break anything. I think it doesn't really matter who would have been behind the wheel, but the boys all decided. So on the feedlot I worked at, there was all guys except for 2 girls, me and another. I don't know. I want to say your name in case I don't know. But anyway, all the boys left and went elk hunting, and for some reason didn't pay attention to the weather, or if they did, they didn't care. And stop me if I'm getting glitchy because I can see the internet isn't very good. But
No, let's go.
okay. So the boys are all up on the mountain elk hunting, and the worst winter storm hits. And of course, we're concerned about them, but like they'll probably be okay because we are stuck on the feedlot trying to get tractors to run in 30 below weather. And this, huge just snow coming in like crazy. And we're trying to get the feeding done, and we're trying to keep all the waters thawed out. I mean, it was just a mess because not only was it horrible weather, but there were only 2 of us when normally there's a whole crew. So it was just me and this other girl just trying to keep things running. And that the night before, I think when it dipped down like to 30 below, we never even shut the tractors off. We left them in and left the tractors running all night. But then it didn't seem to matter because then once we started to load the feed wagons, it was all a mess. And we ended up being stranded in various places, and we had to call people to come help us. But gelling up tractors can be kind of expensive and a pain. And of course, then it takes 10 times longer to get anything done. And they were all green too. So,
So
yeah.
how old were you when this happens?
Oh, I was, this was after we moved to Montana. So it would have been like in like 08 probably.
Okay. So you're an adult at this point.
Yeah, I'm an adult. Yeah.
I mean, it's still, there's only 2 of you. How many head of cattle were on the feedlot?
Oh, I think when it was totally full, there were about 2,500, but I don't think it was full then. Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot of work though.
It was a lot of work. And it's, you know how everybody talks about the cold plunge, doing the cold plunges?
Oh yeah.
I remember doing the cold plunge in the waterers, like putting your arm, when it's like super cold. I never did my whole body in cold water, but it was like really cold water. It wasn't just kind of cold. But yeah, I'll never forget that. And it was one of those things, it was kind of like your story where you don't have a choice. Well, you had a choice to quit, but we didn't have a choice to quit. We just had to keep going until the work got done. And then it took so long that by the time we got everything fed and thawed, we had to literally turn around and start feeding again. That's how long it took because it took us all day to feed just the first, what should have been the morning feeding. And then by the time we finally got done with that, we had to turn around.
Twice a day?
Yeah, we were feeding them twice a day.
Okay, yeah. We just fed once a day and then twice on Saturdays so we could take Sunday off.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah. We fed them a lot,
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, we just gave them, enough.
Well, we could only hold so much. So anyway, I don't think anybody cares, Neil. Only you and me care about these stories.
Well, of course, my family's watching this, so they're like, "Oh, okay, I get it." Yeah, because we've all had to thaw out drinkers, and we've all had to go out in the cold. And I love the cold. I hate being cold, so I love going out in the cold. I love that work, pushing snow or helping people get unstuck or thaw out drinkers, that kind of stuff. I that's never bugged me at all. And once you're out there, you can't leave. That's like you
sometimes you have to, though. If you get too cold, you have to just come and warm up just for a little bit.
For sure.
Just enough, not too warm though, because if you get too warmed up, then you had to adjust to the warm, then you have to adjust to the cold again.
Exactly.
So you just got to take the edge off and then go back out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, cool.
Yeah.
All right, you're up.
Oh, I am? Okay.
Yeah.
No. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? It's not really a question, but I'm just curious.
I don't know. What would you say?
Well, sometimes I think you're an extrovert, and then other times I'm not sure. Maybe you're on the spectrum.
Can I tell? I don't know. I don't know.
You're more extroverted than you are introverted.
Maybe I'm not educated enough to be able to answer that question about myself.
Oh, come on. Well, your daughters know.
I like people and I love to be alone.
Me too. I don't like all people, but I mean, There's
So,
some people that just suck the
yeah,
energy right out of me.
I love to visit. Yeah, you're right. That's the thing, and so like
Yeah,
SHOT Show, I'm there, bell to bell because I just love to hang out with people and I love to visit and I love to find common ground. Uh, you know,
but
that's
then
yeah. But
then you
then when
have to
I'm
have you time, alone
yeah,
time.
I like to recharge a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, I have done a polar plunge. So, and that's another fun story. We should tell that story sometime too, but we don't have time for that. Let me ask you this: what bores you?
Lack of variety.
Lack of variety.
Yeah, like doing the same exact things and
Oh,
not having any way to make it interesting. Like I have to like when I do my workouts, if I don't have a goal in mind,
mm,
or if it's not varied, I can't like do the same thing workout every day, that kind of thing. I almost have to gamify it or something to make it
oh yeah,
interesting. Yeah, but um
that's the only thing that gets me into dry fire is I get bored with it. I have to have a
Oh,
game.
I'm struggling with that right now. I'm trying to figure out ways that I can make it interesting again, and yeah, I think I just haven't figured it out yet. Oh,
Just
perfect
saying.
opportunity.
Um, I have no relationship. Well, I do have a relationship with them. I got the guy's phone number that made it, but yeah, they're not a sponsor or anything. But that ACE system that goes through the VR is really cool.
I'm
Um,
afraid I would throw up with those
that,
glasses on.
that's what I was afraid of too, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's that thing's pretty cool. Um, I'm trying to figure out there's leaderboards on there and all that, so the competition is for me. The gamifying it. So I totally get that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
All
sorry it
right.
wasn't as interesting of an answer as you were giving, but this is
No,
why I interview people and I don't get interviewed. I mean, really, I'm really curious about other people, but I'm not very good at being on this end of it. I don't know.
you're doing
Maybe I
great.
just
This is
need
fun.
practice. Maybe it's an exercise, Neil. Maybe I just need practice.
Maybe it is. Maybe after about 50 episodes like this,
Yeah,
I feel like
maybe.
you and I could do this like 6 weeks in a row and still have
It
fun
wouldn't
conversation.
be it
I,
would yeah, it wouldn't be hard. I was looking forward to this because it's just well, it's way easier to prep for one. I mean, honestly, and then, if it's somebody that you enjoy talking to, then it's fun, but if
yeah,
it would depend on the person,
yeah. So
for sure. Okay, is it my turn to give you a question? We're
it
almost
is.
done.
Yeah, it's your turn. Yep.
Okay, so I love this about you that you have such a great relationship with your daughters and all your kids really, but I think that that's one thing that is particularly special about you guys, and I'm wondering how others can work to have that same kind of relationship with their kids. Because
Oh man.
because you guys are just I
Uh,
mean, I don't know, probably not always, but you seem to be really you're lighthearted about stuff. You have a good sense of humor, but you also are like very seriously like the biggest fan in the room. Like you guys support each other so wholeheartedly in everything. And it's a
yeah.
wonderful thing.
Um,
And not
you
everyone
know,
has relationships like that.
I think to some degree we got that way in spite of all of the things that we did. Uh,
Really?
I don't know. Sometimes.
Dad
Oh yeah.
used to make us hold hands and say we loved each other
That
or
was a
what we loved about each other.
yeah, we would have to sit and hold hands in a circle. Yeah, there was a lot of trauma bonding, a lot of big wrestles, and um, we did sit on the bed at bedtime, holding hands, and you'd have to look to the person to your right and say one thing you like about them or love about them or whatever, and then the next night it might be to the left or right, however. Um, we did a lot of that. We did a lot of family stuff. We were just constantly together.
Yeah.
You know, I worked some crazy hours there for a while, and with the goal of instilling in my kids that hard work pays off because I think it does, and I think I see that instilled in my daughters that they all work hard and every one of them makes an effort all the time, but there is not one of them that won't drop anything that's in their hand to come to the aid of their family. Um,
Mhm.
and when they were little kids and they would bicker, and this is Stephanie, not me, but she would always tell them, she's like, your friends are going to come and go. And in some cases, husbands may come and go, or any of that kind of stuff. And especially husbands, because you guys live longer than we do. And in the end, the people that you'll have is your sisters.
Mm.
And I think those girls have such a bond with each other. And I just want to share in it. And so, the kids all, anytime they had something going on in the summer, like camp stuff, all of the kids came to our house or were invited to our house. Always welcome. And to this day, they still do, to some degree. It's getting less and less now that they're having kids of their own. But, we had we bond over TV and movie things. So if you spend any time in our house, you'll hear at least 50 movie quotes. But if you remember Psych, that show that came out, I think that was on USA with
I've
the
heard of it.
the I Know You Know, it's the fake psychic show. Our family, I don't know why I fell in love with that show. And then they made some movies later on, and the kids were in college and moving out. And we had kids from like all over the country that came and drove to the Weidner's house to watch this movie. Uh,
Really?
yeah. And I'm like, I think it's just being open to that kind of fun stuff.
Huh.
I have heard it both ways. See, there are in the comments. And so,
They just light up the comments. It's awesome.
I'm just a big fan of my kids. They're awesome people.
Yeah.
They all have their own unique personalities. And it's so fun just to know them, and to
Aw.
to have a relationship with my kids at the age that they are. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So I will be there for them, and they are always there for us. And so that's really cool.
I love that. Hey, I remembered something that I think is boring since my answer was boring.
Okay.
Anything having to do with spreadsheets, accounting, like that kind of
Oh,
work, that will drive me crazy.
worst.
I will zone out within 5 minutes and it'll be the end of it.
Okay. That's a good
Yeah.
one. That
It
is the
really
worst.
needs to be creative, and I'm not saying you can't be creative with spreadsheets, but not in the way I'm thinking.
Yeah.
All the
Nope.
little tiny detail stuff makes me nuts.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Well, cool. I don't know if we've done 7.
I don't know either, but we're running out of time.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
your
we're not talking.
story lasted about 20 minutes,
I
so
know. I'm sorry. I blew it.
I'm
Sorry.
teasing.
So,
It's good. It's good.
one of the fun ones that one of my girls had was, which I don't expect you to have much of an answer for this, but what is the most profane thing you've ever yelled at a cow? That's a for people that
Oh.
don't know, if you've ever worked cattle, that's where sometimes you learn profanity there. I did not learn much profanity, but
Oh, I
as a
know
kid
I've
growing
said a lot of
up,
things to cattle. I can't remember what the worst was. I even can't even think of something unique because usually stuff comes out of your mouth sometimes and you're like, where did that come from?
yeah, oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And it's usually out of fear because they're usually running towards you or you're
Oh,
about to see your life flash before your
yep.
eyes whenever it comes out
Yeah,
of your
and if you let them go by, your dad's gonna yell.
Oh, yeah, then
The
it's even
first to get
worse.
over by the cow or the horse chasing it, or your dad.
Right.
But yeah,
And if
so
you ever want the best test of your marriage ever in a lifetime, work cattle together. It's I'm
oh yeah,
serious. You will learn everything, or if you're dating someone, work cattle with them.
yeah, that's true. I remember
Yeah.
the first time I took Steph out to work cattle. We were running calves through the chute, and about 10 minutes into it, I got that look from her, like, "What are you doing?" And then she just like left, and I'm like,
Yeah.
for the moment, I was kind of frustrated that she left us to do all the work, and then I'm like, "This is probably for the best."
Yeah.
So
Sometimes it's best just to walk away.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was smart of her at that time,
Yeah.
and
Justin
smart
and
for
I
me.
actually did pretty good because we both worked on the feedlot together and we
Okay,
did
yep.
well together. So I thought that was good.
All of our girls worked on the feedlot. So they were homeschooled. So there was a time back in the I don't even remember what it was, but they were all pretty little.
Who is that? The Facebook user on the private group. That's funny.
But
Somebody that knows me.
they had, Dad had a bunch of cowboys that worked for him on the feedlot and had his crew. And man, they just had like a ration of accidents. Like somebody had a broken leg, and
Oh.
somebody, one of the guys, like cut himself really bad with a chainsaw and a busted. There was a lot. And Dad called me and was like, "Hey, if I come pick up the girls, can they come spend a week? Because we've got, I can't remember what it was, like 1,800 head coming in that we've got to process.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't have any help." And so I'm like, "Yeah, come get them." And I think we were living in Wisconsin at the time. I was running a call center there. So we met them somewhere in the middle of Minnesota, dropped off the
Just
kids.
dropped him off.
Yeah. And they went out to the
Free
farm.
labor.
Yeah. And for the most part, these 4 girls, and I think at the time were ranging from probably 9 to 19 in that ballpark. They processed all of those calves by themselves, ran them all
Oh,
through
wow.
vaccinations, branded, and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, you'd have a good system going by the time you got to about
Oh,
1,000
yeah.
or 500.
So,
Yeah,
and I think Dad
that's
was up
cool.
there for some of that, but
Yeah.
it's cool that yeah, and they got paid. That was their
Oh,
thing. So
good.
Grandpa
Okay.
pays.
I
Grandpa
never
pays.
got paid, but okay,
And
that's good.
so,
Awesome. Well, we're over the hour, Neil. Is there any other burning questions that you have?
let me look at my list here because I
Okay.
feel like
Is there a real doozy in there you haven't
I
revealed?
wanted to know, leaving your faith out of it, because I
Mhm.
know your faith.
Mhm.
And but what are the 3 indicators that you use to define success from a business perspective? And you give me 2 if you want. That way we don't have to go too long.
Define success from a business perspective. Well,
Yep.
I think that all businesses are run by people. So therefore, you should always do what you say you're going to do and follow through with what you say. I'd say that would be probably very good business practice.
How do you
Um,
distill that down into an indicator? How do you measure that?
how do you measure that?
Yeah.
What if somebody does what they say they're going to do?
Yeah.
Whether
It's
they
not a
do it
gotcha thing. I'm just curious
Whether
how.
they do it or not. I mean, right?
Well,
Whether they follow through with what you've agreed to. So if you have a contract with them or
so
even if you don't.
so trust. I
Yeah.
mean, you after a little bit of work with somebody, if you can trust them or not. Okay, that's fair. That's a good one. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm following you. What's another one?
Specifically as it pertains to business, huh?
Mhm.
I would say probably somebody who is invested in continually improving themselves so that they can pour
Mm,
into others.
I like that.
I think that would be another big indicator of somebody I'd want to be around in
So
business.
they're like pouring fresh stuff into others, not the same old stuff that they've been pouring.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that's
Yeah.
I
Well, the
like.
better that you work, the more that you work on yourself and the more that you learn and then apply into your own life, the more that you can help other people, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
And that
Well,
all that'll go through your business, through your personal life, through everything.
so does that define your success, or that's how you define a successful person? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's a big part of it because my show is a lot about pouring into people, and I can't pour into people if I'm not getting new information or trying to
Mm,
develop myself, and a lot of what I share is just stuff I've learned along the way. So it's kind of like they're just going along with me on the journey and I'm sort of just talking to my old self. Sort of is kind of how I feel and just talking to
yeah.
that person that I used to feel that way or think this or think that. And then I learned something better or new. And now I just share that and be like, guess what? And most of the time I'm excited about it because I mean, you can't hold that stuff in when you,
No,
when you,
I agree. I agree. I love that.
yeah,
That's a great take.
you need to keep that to yourself.
Yeah. So awesome. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for answering that one. That's a good one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on and then to I think I have a couple of announcements here before we're done with the show, who to expect for next week and then yeah. And then guys, put in the comments what you thought of this
Oh,
format. What did
please.
you think, Neil? Do you think that I should keep doing this or That could be, if you say no, you can tell me behind the scenes.
No, I will tune in and watch this if you have conversations with people. The thing is, I think in the gun community, the self-defense community, we
Mhm.
always talk so much about the training that we just did, or those concepts and that kind of thing, and people just
Mhm.
don't know, kind of the backstory of some folks. And I think that's fun. And you and I already kind of knew the backstory. So then we get to just get to kind of probe a little bit and ask some
Yeah.
of those fun questions, because we know what some of that stuff's going to be.
Right.
And so I
The
think this
girls
is
are still talking about the feedlot stuff. It was
oh
a hard life. Madison said it was a hard life. Natalie said I liked it.
yeah. Have
Yeah.
you ever had a buzzer put in your mouth?
No.
Yeah, that's another. I'll tell you
You mean
that's
like a hot shot? Or
yeah,
no, no, that's
yeah.
wrong.
Well,
No.
if you get one in the nostril and one under your lip,
Neil.
that will lay you right down. And so I didn't, it happened to me. Not, I didn't do that. That was one of my daughters. She thought she was going to be
That
cute.
would be
Like,
even crazy. That's a better video than the pepper spray
oh,
video.
because when you hit the hot shot and hit the button and let go, it's still hot, right? And so then you can
Oh.
and touch it.
Well,
Well,
yeah, I've like heard the little, not the zap, but like a just
yeah,
a whatever you call it. I don't know what it is.
yeah, that's
Anyway,
what.
the
So
snap.
so
You
you
can
hit
hear
the
the
button.
snap.
Yeah, the probes get the two ends get electrified, and
Mhm.
then if you let go of the button, there's still it's still got to release that charge.
Right, right.
So one of my daughters, who just apologized, if you rewind, uh, um, was like, "Hey, Dad," and I turned around, and it was one of those moments of a what. And when I did that, one of them went literally up my nose, and the other one under my lip, and uh,
And she didn't think that it was, since she wasn't pushing the
yeah,
button.
it was
Wow.
all in it. And no, I reacted not as fatherly as I could have at that moment, but
I've done some dumb things, but I haven't done
yeah,
that. I wouldn't, how did, no, I'm not even gonna ask.
I couldn't even move my right arm for about 2 minutes. It was like, it was almost taser like. So I did get the buzzer away from her, and I don't throw lefty very well, but I threw that buzzer as far as I could,
Oh, man.
and tried
Fun
not to pass
times.
out and act
Fun
tough. But
times.
yeah, so yeah, the
Well,
feedlot
thanks.
has a lot of great memories.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your time with me tonight, and I'm really glad that you were able to. We weren't sure earlier in the week if you were
yeah.
gonna be able to make it, so it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is a good time. I hope you keep doing this with other folks, because I would love to hear some of the just the personal stories. I think this is fun, and
Yeah.
I always like hanging out with you. So
And I'm
anytime you,
surprised that Adam didn't jump in. I bet he wanted to a couple times, but he didn't. I saw him in the background laughing. He was so busy with the comments. Thank you guys for
I
keeping Adam
know.
busy because he gets bored easily. So you kept him busy all night, and that was a good thing. All
uh,
right, cool. All right, well, hope to see you again soon, Neil. Don't leave the studio. Just stay in the green room, would you?
all right, we'll do.
Okay. All right, guys. So tell me in the comments if you like that format. That was new and different. I don't even remember what I said, so I hope it was worthy of listening to. It was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you too. And let me know if you want me to do that again. If you've got any suggestions of people that you want me to do the hot seat with, that might be fun. Always looking for new ideas. So a couple of things here before we leave. I want to give a huge thank you to all of my paid supporters on locals.com and let you guys know that I just dropped a new episode of Defenders Uncensored there. Episode 7 is now up. I think I put it up yesterday or the day before. We just filmed it on Monday, and it's fresh out of the oven. So you don't want to miss that. Go there. If you don't know what Defenders Uncensored is, it's a series of roundtable discussions where we talk about topics that might be considered controversial, but we don't think they should be. And they're always filled with lots of truthful conversations, sprinkled with some slightly inappropriate humor. We always have a good time, and I always look forward to them. And let's see. Okay, and then on a little bit more somber note, if you want to go to the Defenders Uncensored and you want to check those out, go to locals.com, search Defenders Live in the Discover tab. That's how you find that. And then before we get to who I'm going to have on next week, I have a really big announcement. Mostly because it's just a really big responsibility and a huge honor that I was able to do this. But last week, Brian Hill and I documented his story at length. It was a 2.5 hour long interview, and we're going to be releasing it raw, uncut, unedited. And it's the first and last time he says that he'll be sharing his story. And it's a true honor to be trusted with that. And if you don't know who Brian Hill is, most of you do, I think. But if you don't know who Brian Hill is, you can look him up on our channel or on the Active Self Protection channel. He's been on there, on the Extra channel a lot. So he has a really unbelievable story of transformation that is inspiring. And it was honestly really hard to get through for me. Parts of it were hard to get through with him too. So I have a clip that I want to show you, but I haven't run it by Brian and Shelley yet, so I'm not going to reveal that yet, but I will be revealing that soon. And so just know that that's coming soon. And if you want to know when that is going to be released, I'll be posting that on the Facebook group, the Defenders Live private Facebook group, as well as through email. So go to Defenders-Live, sign up for those email notifications, and then I'll send you an email when that is released. So next week, I messed up, guys, on the show last week. Nobody noticed it, though, thank God. Why am I admitting it if nobody noticed it? I knew it, so I've got to set the record straight. So last week, I messed up and told you that Wayne Black would be on this week, and obviously, Neil is not Wayne Black. So next week is when I will be interviewing Wayne Black. He's the author of School Insecurity, which is a comprehensive guide for parents and educators on school security. So he's an author, public speaker, former law enforcement officer, and internationally recognized security expert with more than 45 years experience in both the public and private sectors and a mile-long list of credentials. But I won't go into those right now. But I am looking forward to that interview next week. And again, please tell me in the comments if you like this format. We did the In the Hot Seat is what I called it with Neil. And looking forward to seeing you all again next week. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Adam.
Hi, Cody. Hi.
You scared me when you came on there. I'll see you next week, guys. Until then, take care.